Hello everyone.
Hello, hello.
I'm Tony.
And I'm Tally.
And we are
the
Lazy Book Lovers. This is a podcast for book lovers who procrastinate about reading and have never-ending to-be-read piles. Today's episode is kind of a new one if you've listened to us for a little bit. So we started doing a buddy read, which is where we pick an indie author that we're both going to read together, and we opened it up to the public to join. I think only one person joined this time around, so if you are listening, thank you. It was nice to have you. We're so sorry we forgot to read it until the end of the 2 months.
Yeah, it was like our first one, so we're still getting the hang of it.
The teething
hopefully
problems.
we'll be more vocal on Facebook or Discord or something going forward as well.
Yeah, we got both of our marches. Yeah, it was the March to April. Both of our marches were a bit fucking insane. We both got hit bad in March, so
that's why we do our books as 2 monthly ones.
Yeah,
because there's no way we could do a monthly one.
Yeah, so this 2 month read, this was March to April. This buddy read. If you want to join our next one, we will be announcing the book. Probably in your timeline, we'll have already announced on our socials what the next book we're going to be talking about is. Mm-hmm. So if you just pop there, it's Lazy Book Lovers. We're very easy to find. If you want to join our next buddy read, it is mainly on Storygraph. But if you are in the places like our Facebook group and Discord where we can chat to you, we're going to chat more there. So come and find us. So this one was Trial of the Sun Queen by Nisha J Tuli. It was 392 pages for anyone interested. So the tags for this one were like fiction, fantasy, romance, adventurous, mysterious, tense, medium pace, and fated mates was the one we added. Which is interesting for it to be on those kind of rec lists. Yeah. It's actually maybe a bit of a spoiler. Think about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's Faye, so I don't know how much of a spoiler it is, because you kind of assume that with Faye, don't you?
Right, let me read you guys the description before we start the chaos. This will be spoilers free, if we can. But let's just say it's going to be spoilers free.
This is the first in a quartet. So.
Yes. So if you're thinking of starting the series, hopefully
they're all out as well.
Yeah. No, the last one comes out in November from her Instagram.
Okay. So, yeah, it'll be completed very soon.
The Bachelor meets the Hunger Games when 10 women face off in a deadly battle where only one can win the king's hand and ascend to the exalted throne of the Sun Queen. Laura has endured 12 long years in torment locked up by the Aurora King's prison. Her only goal is to get out and pay him back for every moment of misery. When a surprise release finds her in the hands of the Sun King, Laura is thrust into the spotlight as she competes for his hand in marriage against 9 other tributes. If she wins, she can earn her freedom and finally get her revenge. But Laura doesn't belong in the Sun Queen trials. Not only does she not understand why she's been freed from prison, she isn't a citizen of the Sun King's court. The other tributes resent her presence and will stop at nothing to ensure Laura is wiped off the game board permanently. Now Laura must do everything she can to win, but if she loses, she dies. Or worse, she'll be sent back into the hands of the Aurora King. This glittering fae romance is perfect for fans of Sarah J Maas, Jennifer Almentrout, and Raven Kennedy. Trial of the Sun Queen is the first book in a trilogy with an eventual happy after. Well, it's definitely 4 books now.
Yeah, it's 4 books now. But it was obviously intended to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
The content warnings for this are sexual assault, violence, death of a parent, bullying, and a minor rape. Content warning. We might touch on some of this whilst we're talking about the book, so just a heads up.
Yes.
What would you rate it? I haven't worked out my rating yet.
I don't really do ratings, do I?
No.
Like not even on my blog where I review books do I give a number rating.
I use an Excel sheet to work out my rating on things.
I don't know. I always feel bad for them. I can never give it's very rare for me to give a bad score because I'm like, they work so hard. It's not their fault if it ends up crap. Not this one did, but
yeah, this discourse on everything about how 3 stars is a bad rating is just crazy.
Oh, I've seen some that I've been swiping away because
it's not. It's
frankly,
it's average. Like, it's good. It's neither good nor bad. It's
I don't know. A lot of the book drama that's going on right
Lately,
now.
it's been ridiculous.
I'm totally not engaging with it. I'm not engaging with the book community on TikTok at all.
No.
I'm swiping away.
No.
I'm done.
It's just too much.
This and the thing about spicy books, like,
I would say, I don't know.
For me, this is a 4.
I was going to say about a 4, I think. It might be a 4.25.
Where's the 2.5 come from? How's that work? What's the system?
What?
I don't know. What's the system? Was it 4.25?
I think that's what my sheet's going to give it when I put in my.
Oh
when
yeah,
I
you
put in my
special
thing.
Excel,
Yeah.
don't you? Yeah.
It was very well written.
Very easy to read.
It was like very well edited. There was no. It's a long book, but it didn't feel long. It didn't, and there wasn't like big chunks where I was like, this could just be taken out. It was like everything had a purpose.
It had good pacing.
Yeah.
Even like sort of the scenes where she's just with the hairdresser guy, and they're kind of like talking about her hair and stuff. They still had like a purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, for character development or whatever. Like it still had a. It wasn't just fluff.
When she gets to this court or whatever it's called, I'm saying court because they're Fae, I don't know.
Yeah, it is court. Sun King's
she look as glamorous as the other contestants, all of whom are Fae.
Also,
She's the
they're
only
also
human.
royal Fae.
Yeah.
Who've been brought up in the court.
Like they've also been groomed to one day hopefully
Take part in the
try
trials.
and be become the Sun Queen.
So she is the 9th tribute, and something they call throughout the book the final tribute. So they always put one human in to make it quote marks fair.
From the like the dregs of their
So they
their
believe it's from
city or
their
whatever.
own kingdom,
Kingdom,
from the
thank you.
slums of their kingdom called Umbra. That's where they believe she's from. They don't know that she's actually been, and every single final tribute before her has been abducted from a different king's court. And apparently that's like a done thing. But when we get different POVs throughout the book, when we get the prince of the court she came from's point of view, the Aurora Court, his narration gave me the impression that no one else does these trials, but she's told that everyone does a version of these trials. But you get from his impression that he's like, this is barbaric, no one does this.
Yeah. So because a lot of the contestants / tributes do end up losing their life.
Or they're bound to the court
they're
forever.
owned by the king.
Yeah.
So if they do survive, they end up as his like handmaiden, basically.
Yeah.
His concubine.
And they can't marry.
Yeah. They belong to him.
So, and the other courts, although they attend festivities from this, they seem to think it's quite...
Not to go there, but I kind of will because the description went there. It's giving me Tamlin vibes. Like, not to compare it, but the description did compare it.
Yeah.
It is a comparable title, I think.
Yeah.
The ACOTAR series. And I was thinking, obviously, Hunger Games. It's got a lot of Hunger Games vibes. Oh, which is where I was going for. So, yeah, she gets, like, her hair done. She has a person come in to do her hair before the trials.
Yeah.
Who is, like, Cinna.
Yeah, essentially.
And then she has, like, beautiful gowns. And they obviously have Fae magic, so they help her hair grow and stuff like that to make her look...
And heal a lot of her wounds from where she's been in prison, but she refuses to let them heal a scar on her face.
Yeah, she has a scar across her face.
And I'm convinced that's something to do with the truth of who she is. It's something to do with that, and that's why she won't let them heal it.
Yeah, so there is a subplot. I guess it's a subplot in this, but it's going to be a main plot in a future book, presumably, where there's something about her that is being kept a secret. It's like a secret from her past. I think it's fairly obvious at some point what it is.
It's breadcrumbed very well.
Yes,
because you and I, we both have this opinion on this podcast quite a lot. We don't mind if we figure out the ending, if it's like a well done ending. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or if there's a twist, if it's a twist that's foreshadowed or breadcrumbed that when you look back you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Like both ways we're like, don't mind it. When people do pointless twists that haven't been breadcrumbed and are just shock factor pointless ones, that's when we're like,
when I'm done, yeah. And the thing about fantasy, fae books in this particular genre, I mean, I think it's at some point going to be like more of a fantasy romance, or no, romantic fantasy, romantasy. They tend to follow similar plot beats. So if you are well read in the genre, you can see a lot of these things coming.
Yeah.
So it's not a negative. It's just what the genre tends to offer.
She had to be special in some way. Yeah. Like, why is she surviving all these trials that have killed every human that's come before her?
Why was she like handpicked to go do this?
You know, why is the king from her court so mad when he finds out she's missing?
So, a little about the prison she was in.
Yes.
So she's been in there for 12 years, is that right?
Yeah.
How old is she? How old was she when she went
she
into
said
the prison?
she was 12 when she got taken to the prison. I remember that somewhere in the narration. So she must be
like
about
early 20s. Yeah, mid-20s. Yeah, so this is a prison that's like really, really harsh. Once you go in, you don't leave.
It's sort of more of a labour camp.
Yeah. They're kind of self-governing a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And she's there with a brother and sister.
Yes.
Are they actually? Because sometimes she refers to them as her friends. I wonder if that's just for the court, so they don't know she has family.
In her narration right at the start of the book, she says, for our own safety, no one knows of our relation to each other in the prison.
That makes sense.
Including the prison guards.
Okay, right. So she's got an older brother and sister.
And she also, when she goes to the court, doesn't refer to them as her brother and sister.
Just as her friends.
Apart from the friends she makes.
Yes.
The two girls she makes friends with, they're the only people that she tells that's her brother and sister. Even in the trials, when she's like scared shitless, she's saying, my friends.
Yeah.
And I think, if you see like the big revelation right at the end, which is spoiler free, I'm not going to tell you, where she recalls what's happened to them, you can kind of see why they chose to, like, because they were told to erase everything about who they were.
Yeah.
So that includes that they related.
Yeah, so that's the one thing that's like, because she has no interest really in being the Sun Queen. I mean, she does start to think about what she could do if she was Sun Queen.
But I think it's from the position of, I've always been powerless. What if I had that much power? Yeah.
But the thing that pushes her through, at the beginning at least, is that if she was Sun Queen, she could get her brother and sister out of prison. And that's still very much high on her agenda. But there's a lot of talk of, like, what's sort of classism of it all, and how if she was queen she could try and
make things better for people.
Try and make things a bit fairer
or something. She goes, I mean, this is definitely, the Sun King is like a, if you know anything about like European history, and I'm not going to claim to be an expert, so please Google all of these facts, but obviously, the Sun King court is like a reference to that French king, the last French king.
Oh, yeah.
King Louis. Who was called the Sun King. Because, have you been to the Palace of Versailles?
No.
So I've been twice. And when you walk around there, you're like, I can see why people starving in the streets ended up rebelling.
We're not very impressed. Yeah.
I can see why they weren't happy about this. Because it's like, it is gilded in gold. And like the hall of mirrors that he has, and it's this really opulent like ballroom with these huge chandeliers, and it's all gold, and there's mirrors, floor to ceiling mirrors, which back then would have been bloody expensive. I got vibes that she was also pulling on that bit of history as well. I don't know if that was intentional, if that was accidental. Good job. But that's what it gave me as well, because like you got this person who's like been hungry and desperate her whole life, and then she goes to a place full of rich people who have never known a day's hardship, and she's very much like, at first she's just like, what right do you have to cry, look at what you live with, and she actually has to humanise them a little bit in the end.
And that was very much like Hunger Games as well.
Yeah.
Like when she was eating all the food and she threw up, it made me think of that bit in the Capitol when they're throwing up so they can eat more.
Oh no, that happens to Katniss and Peter, so that when they first get on the train
Yeah.
and they're given all that food, both of them eat too much and throw up the first
Yeah,
night. It's
yeah.
just not in the film.
Yeah, yeah.
Because then they have to be careful from then on not to overindulge.
Yeah. If you've read the Selection series, this
I
was very
still
much...
need to read this. I've got it.
This very much reminded me of that as well. Obviously, the Selection series is a bit more kind of fluffy.
Yeah.
It's more romance. But yeah, it reminded me of that because that is also a competition for the prince to choose his queen, basically.
What did you think of, like, the Sun King? Even when he was, like, before any twists happen, I thought he was sus, though. Right from the beginning.
He was not very good at trying to play it cool. He was definitely too over the top.
He had no chill.
No. From the very beginning, he's like, I'm obsessed with this human and I'm going to, like, come on to her 24/7 and love bomb her and gaslight her. And she's so unable to understand, obviously, because she grew up in a prison or whatever.
Well, she just keeps saying, like, no one's ever spoken to me so kindly.
Exactly.
No one's ever treated me so gently. I've never been held gently like this before.
And then she's got Lucian. No,
Now you're really mixing up Akatar.
sorry,
Gabriel.
Gabriel, who's like, he's her warder. He's the head of the guards.
Everyone in the trials gets a warder.
Yeah, and he is given to her, which everyone says is quite odd because he's the head of the guard and he's been given to the one that's always
Most likely
dies.
to die,
Final tribute. What they have together is like genuine friendship. Like,
it's genuinely
grown over
love-hate
the time,
friendship.
yeah. And when you compare the two,
Yeah.
it's just the king is just very sus the whole time.
Especially when you, like, Gabriel, his best mate, is just, like, so confused
He's
about...
like, what are you doing?
Cause I really like the bit as well. Because I hate... One of the things I also love-hate with a lot of fantasy books is when the main character is just like, oh, special.
Yeah.
And she's just special and everyone falls in love with her. And I liked in this book, the bit where Gabriel goes, I don't fucking get it. You're alright looking. Your personality's alright. You've grown on me. But he's like, I really don't get the obsession. He's like, you're nothing special. She's like, yeah, I agree. I'm also confused. And he's like, yeah, I don't get it.
Like, there's a bit when he helps her into the bath and she doesn't want him to see her naked. And he's like, it's fine. I've seen it before. It's nothing special.
When he just, like, plops her in.
Yeah.
And he's just like,
Because they have so much banter and, like, their friendship has really grown, although neither of them would probably admit they're friends.
Yeah.
For a while, I thought he was going to be the love interest.
I thought maybe something just kind of sexy time would happen. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit of, like, a hate fuck.
Yeah.
That's what I was predicting at one point. Until we frequently catch Gabriel with dudes.
There's a bit when she's it's not spoilers, but there's a bit when she walks in on him pleasuring a gentleman.
Down on a guy.
And he's just like, what do you want? Leave me alone, I'll be with you in a minute. And he's just finishing up.
And she's like, you're going to be more than a minute. And he's like, no, I won't.
So there's a lot of like in the palace there's a lot of partying and hedonism going on.
That's why it gave me like Louis the 16th,
yeah,
17th. Oh, my brother's yelling at me. That king, the last king France had in the 1800s, that's also what his court was supposed to be like. Very debauched, very hedonistic.
So I think like the setting was very good. I was into it. I was
I liked that she wasn't like some blushing virgin as well.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of these books where they are like, oh, so innocent.
The other tribute who's like her nemesis throughout.
Oh yeah, Atrisha?
Yeah, something like that.
I read it as Atrisha. I might be wrong.
I can't even remember how it was spelled or anything. She, like, when they're having a meal one night, she's all like, I'm a virgin. Like,
Yeah.
not in those
I've
words.
stayed pure.
I've saved my maidenhead or whatever she
Yeah.
said. And then she tries to embarrass Law.
I like how she just got up and left quite
Yeah.
a lot. Like,
She was just like, do you know what? Fuck this, I'm going.
It does, because it plays with a lot of tropes of this style of book. Like, it was giving 2010s fantasy but modernised.
Yeah.
Because it played with that whole, like, trope of being embarrassed by the popular pretty girl.
Yeah.
But except she was like, she didn't sit there and take it. She was just like,
I'm
fuck
gonna
this.
go. Yeah.
I'm just gonna go. What are you gonna do? Or the times when, like, you know, when the king is like, after the big moment, he's like, you're still gonna, like, we're still gonna, come on. And she's like,
Are you fucking serious?
fuck you!
Yeah.
That was fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
You're a psycho? No. And, like, spits in his face. And I was like, yes.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We're talking in very general terms because I try not to spoil
Yeah, we
it.
don't want to do any spoilers. Yeah, so we do find out... Is it a spoiler? I won't go into too much detail. We do find out that there was another trial run
Yes.
before this one. So there's a little bit of questions around that. All you know is that, like, no one made it to the end.
Yeah.
That's okay to say,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah. No one made it to the end. So, but it's, like, kept a secret, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, like, forbidden to talk about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So, like, these trials are really, really dangerous and people do die from it.
Mm-hmm.
But then straight after, the king's just like, let's have a party. Let's, like, da, 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 da. And it's literally like that, that meme from Loki where he's like, yes, very sad. Anyway.
Where he's like, good trial. Can we go for dinner? And can I seduce you?
Can I take you to my private beach, please? And there's a lady who runs the trials,
I hate
like
her. I
the
hope she
trial
dies.
ambassador or whatever. I don't know. I didn't even want to learn her name because she makes me so angry. And she's all very much like, you should be chaste and da da da. And she hates law. And yeah, she's like, you cannot be caught in any compromising positions with the king. And the king's just like, everyone go away. I'm going to fuck this woman. Not in those, but yeah. The king's like, who's in charge? Sorry.
Or, like, he's caught with her about 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
By servants. And it's like, okay.
And that woman was like, if you're ever caught indecently with anyone, you'll be kicked out of the contest. And it's like, okay. But she's been caught indecently with the king a few times now.
I think it helps with that whole thing of, like, something else is going on here, though.
Yeah.
Because Laura's like, wait, I have been caught
Several
times?
been doing all the naughty fucks.
and nothing has happened to me.
Yeah. The trials. No, before we do that, actually, let's finish, because we started talking about, like, the world and stuff.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
There is, like, a magic in it.
Yes.
There's not much explanation for the magic.
I think it's tied to what kind of court they are, for sure.
Yeah.
Because Aurora Court, all of them seem to have power that's to do with, like, light prisms and, like, light magic.
Yeah, and they can fly, right?
Yeah, with light.
Yeah.
Because... And then... I mean, it's never made entirely clear what the Sun King's powers are, but we know his powers are restricted until he marries, which is why he's doing this whole trial.
He can do, like...
Illusion magic.
Thank you. Illusion. I was
Yeah.
like hallucinatory magic, but no, illusion magic. So he can make you see what he wants you to see.
Yeah.
But it's not kind of like... So we know that the hairdresser can do beauty magic and the healers can do magic. But we don't really... Like, none of the other contestants seem to just do casual magic.
No.
So I don't think it's like...
Well, I think 'cause there's different types of fae.
Yeah.
And she always refers to, like, imperial fae, which is, like, the kings and queens, like, imperial top-notch
Yeah.
royal line fae, to have different magic to other fae.
Yeah. But it doesn't... It's not like everyone's just doing magic casually.
Yeah.
Like, all the fae are just casually doing magic. So, yeah, there's, like, some... It's not... That's not fully explained. Presumably we'll learn more about it in other books.
Yeah, I think they probably couldn't without spoiling, like, the truth about the character. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
And also, she's been locked up her whole life and kept ignorant purposefully. So, and she's our narrator, so it could be just an unreliable narrator who doesn't know how it works.
Yeah.
Also, because she's learning the whole time.
Yeah, I just mean that it wasn't like there was just like magic being done everywhere.
No.
It's like it took a while before there was any kind of magic really. So I wasn't even sure if there was
I didn't know if there were magical
element.
fairies or not. On the topic of that, world building, that kind of thing, what did you think? I thought it was quite a good world.
Yeah, really good. And
the way
she gets a map as well.
Yeah, she gets explanation of the courts through, like, not expositional dialogue.
No,
thank fuck.
No, that's what I mean by it's so well written and edited.
Yeah. It's still done through dialogue, but it is not an expositional monologue.
Yeah.
Which a lot of these fantasy stories are very guilty of.
Fourth Wing is the one that comes to mind. I mean, I did appreciate how they tried to do something a little bit different with it, but it was just dumping it. Yeah, so I like the idea. I mean, this happens in most fantasy, that you follow someone who's naive to the world so you can learn alongside them.
Yeah.
So that was very much what was happening here. But no one, because she was, because she's the final tribute, she's basically guaranteed to die. No one really cares to explain anything to her. So for a long time, she just knows nothing.
Yeah.
And then as she starts getting through the trials is when people start explaining stuff to her, because they're like, oh, you're a bit stronger than we thought.
Well, also, because they think she's from the slum part of their courts.
Yeah.
They still assume she has a certain level of knowledge of just having been out in the world and, you know, governed by these people. So... And that's because they don't know she's been locked in prison for most of her life and taught nothing.
Yeah.
Important questions I do have is how she learned to read and how she learned to swim.
So reading...
When did she learn to swim?
If she was 12, reading she would learn before she went in.
Yeah. She must have learned to swim before she went in.
Yeah.
But that's never... Because when she's, like, swimming in the trials, I was like, wait, how are you not drowning?
How are you not... Yeah, because some of those other highborn fae are drowning or whatever. So, the trials, this kind of links in. So, there's 4 trials. The first one, they have to learn the history. They have to have knowledge of the history of,
recite the history
courts
of the
and
court.
stuff. And that kind of leads into her learning a little bit more about it. So, that was done really well, I think. And then the second one is like a pure obstacle course, just a physical one.
Yep.
And then we have one that's like...
they must nick something for someone at a ball, a masquerade ball.
So it's all about being stealthy and using your, like... Yeah, charming. And then the final one I don't really want to discuss. But there was a good mixture of the trials.
I like how she never won, like, outright. Like, she just barely scraped through every time. Because I hate that chosen one thing where, like, oh, she's a mortal girl with no fucking training. Yet she's beating grown fae warriors in a fight. And it's like, no, she is just barely getting through.
Yeah, and she, this is another thing that it reminded me of. It gave me Goblet of Fire vibes with the trials.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, the first one, I don't think this is a spoiler because it's the first trial. They end up underwater, as we mentioned, and she could save herself, but she goes back to help someone. And I was like, all right, Harry.
Yeah.
Like, these aren't negative things, by the way. These are just like...
Well, she's like, I have a choice to do better than these fae.
Yes.
And then it's true because, like, when she does it, everyone's like, why the fuck did you do that?
Yeah. And she does have a habit of trying to help those around her. Even, what is that?
Like, Grisea. There's one that's like...
Grisea.
The dickhead's pal.
Yeah.
Who's really mean to her.
Apprecia's
the dickhead.
Yeah. And then so she makes friends with Halo and Marisi.
Yeah.
And there's some others that... Tesney. I can't really remember.
She's one of the ones who's not nice but not mean.
Yeah.
Like, she's in the middle.
But yeah, she does make a habit of like trying to help them, and then she she slowly starts to let them in. There's two, the Halo and Marcia, or Marcy. Marisi? Halo and Marisi. And they become her friends, and she kind of reluctantly makes friendship with them. Because she obviously doesn't trust any of them to begin with. All of the Fae are very cautious of her.
Snooty.
And I like that she forms some genuine friendships, like genuine female friendships, which is nice to see.
Yeah. Well, she's just like, I like how she makes those friends as well, because she's just like, I don't really like being on my own all the time, surrounded by people who hate me. That low-key sucks. She's like, I might have been in a prison before I had to fight every day of my life, but I still had people that loved me.
Yeah. I was thinking of the writing, like when they go from her, so she's in the prison, she gets put into like a solitary confinement thing, which is like a big hole in the ground.
Yeah, but it's in a dangerous like woods.
Yeah, the void, is that what
the
it's
void?
Called? Yeah, and then she's left there for 2 weeks, even though usually a week is the most, and most people only
3
get 1
days
to
is
2
the most.
days. Yeah. It like fills up with rain. She feels herself like dying or whatever, and then suddenly she's in this palace, and the writing of it is really, really jarring, and I think that was good because it's kind of how she is as well.
Yeah,
like going from that to suddenly she's in this palace and someone's tended to eat and then dressing her up and stuff.
she's like, am I dead?
Yeah,
like I'm comfortable and warm for the first time in my fucking life.
yeah, and then she's like given more food than she could possibly eat. Yeah.
Well, also, I think it's kind of the class politics bit of it, of the only time the people in this court are meeting someone that they think is from the poor part of their land, they're actually meeting starved, beaten prisoners, always. So it also reinforces this idea of like, oh, look, you're better off. Like, you know, some bad things might happen at court, but look what you could be like. This is what it's like to be poor, when they don't know that she's not from their court. And I think that's quite a clever, like, manipulation technique for the rich as well. It's a way of keeping them under control. Because they're like, well, look, this is the alternative.
But I understood it as normally it is someone from that part, from the slums.
No, because the king explicitly says one point in his narration.
Yeah, but I thought he was just saying that to her to explain why she was there.
I took it as they were always nicking them from the prison.
Interesting.
But maybe I just believe the king's lies.
I thought he
because we never hear that information from anyone else but him.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be a lie. That's a good point.
So we do have a few chapters that follow the prince of the Aurora Prince. So that's the kingdom she came from.
Yeah.
And he has been tasked by his dad to find this missing prisoner, which is her. He's given no information. His dad's being really dodge about it.
And he doesn't like his dad.
No. And he decides to start investigating a bit more. Even though, kind of not. Like, his dad's all pissy about him investigating it, but it's like, you told him to find her. I don't understand. Like, anyway. So, yeah, as Tony said earlier, when we're in their court, it seems like these trials aren't something that happen. So that's why I thought it doesn't normally, and he's just said we usually take someone from the prison, but I think he was just saying that to explain why she was there. But I don't know, that's just...
Could be right. Either of us could be right.
So we follow the Aurora Prince, Nadir.
Yeah.
He's like the Rhysand of the piece. Who's so he's a grumpy, his dad is horrible and hates him and obviously seems to pit his children against each other or whatever.
Even though they're just straight up like, no.
Don't care.
Yeah.
And he's got his best friend, who is like his guard, I guess, which is fairly typical for these kind of books. So he is like on the trail of her, trying to find her. Well, he doesn't know the prisoner's a female to begin with. He's just told the prisoner number. And because they're told that prisoner died during a riot. And then the king's like, where's the body? And there isn't a body. So he tells Nadir to find out, like, basically make sure that prisoner definitely died. And then when he goes there, the prisoner's file was missing and everyone's been really cagey
Yeah.
about it. So he's like, why does my dad care? I'm going to find out now. And off he goes. So we dip in and out of his thing. And then he goes to the third trial. The kings/queens of all the kingdoms are like invited to the third trial for a little masquerade ball. He goes in place of his dad, and we find out that him and Gabriel are friends.
Yeah.
Or I would say friends. I was going to say at least know each other,
Frenemies.
but I would say they're friends.
Yeah.
And he meets Law without realising, and then something happens, and then he realises that she is the prisoner that he's looking for, and that's kind of like a big climax in the book, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of how their stories converge.
Yeah. And it's when Sus King becomes very sus.
It's when he becomes extra sus king.
Super sus.
He like throws a tantrum and kicks everyone out of his masquerade. He's like, the king, the Sun King, the descriptions of him were so funny. Just like his strong legs, his like 12-pack and all this. She's just like constantly fanning over. She's like, oh my
she's
God,
like,
I'm so hot.
She's like, I didn't really hear what he said because it was coming out of his hot face.
Yeah. I love those parts of her. Like, she's just so funny.
She's like, I wasn't really paying attention to what he said because he bent over and like.
He's like, when they have one of their little dates, they go to a beach, and she's like, he's got tiny, tiny Speedos on, basically. And I love it. Oh.
I didn't like clock that they were in swimming costumes that whole scene. I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention until the end. She's like, I popped my bikini bottom back on and I'm like, what?
Oh God. Yeah, there's like a little speed cunnilingus. And then it's just like, okay, let's go swimming. Bye.
That's a phrase I never thought I'd hear ever in my life.
Speed cunnilingus.
Yes.
Oh dear.
So, what was your favourite part?
I'm looking at what I highlighted. Hang on. I'll tell you, it's not my favourite part, but I have to tell you.
Okay.
Because I laughed when I was reading it, and my son was sitting next to me, so I had to explain to him what I was laughing at, because he's at that age where I can't be like, don't worry about it. She says the word piddled.
Right.
And it made me laugh so much.
Just the word piddled.
Is that a scar? She says it like, I've lifted up my dress and piddled on the floor.
Yes,
and I was just like, piddled. I've not heard that word.
Is the author English or American?
The author was writing pretty British.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, piddled. That really, really cracked me up. But I think my favourite part is going to be... Oh, I don't know. I just loved so much of it.
Yeah, I don't know if I've got a favourite part.
No.
I liked all the trials.
I think when she was doing her cramming session for the first trial, and Gabriel kept bringing her food and drink, and the Fae that eventually ended up becoming her friends like came and like helped her. I really liked that, actually.
Yeah.
It was just nice. It was like a quiet moment amongst the whole...
Like fighting trials, rah, rah,
and
rah.
like imagine and her reaction, like so Gabriel takes her to the library and she's like, it's like a literal library, and she's like, and her absolute awe, and I'm thinking, I'll be the same.
Well, and Gabriel's like, if I'd known you'd enjoy it this much, I would have brought you sooner. Like, God.
Yeah.
Stupid little human.
And pretty much every time those two have banter, I was enjoying it.
Yeah, I like all the Gabriel moments.
Yeah.
I thought the last trial, like, not the start of it, but the bit where it moves to the next bit, and things get real,
Yeah.
things get real dramatic. I thought that whole bit, I was like, it was good.
Yeah.
Like, the pace was so good.
I was like zooming through it. I was like, I just need to know the next bit. Tell me more.
I need to know what happens.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is happening? Like, I thought that was very good. As I wrote down, I love the opening line.
Oh yeah.
That bitch took my soap.
Yeah.
Because I think I messaged you going, this bodes well.
Like, looking back on it, like, the mundane bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's just crazy of where she ended up.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, so she starts off in prison. Someone stole her soap. She has a fight with them and then gets thrown in the hole.
Yeah.
And that's basically the crux, like the chrysalis for the whole thing.
Well, she's like, the whole thing's tied because of fucking soap.
Yeah, exactly.
So that the soap is like a recurring thing.
There's like a callback, when she has really nice soap and she's like, ha ha ha, she's got that horrible soap and look what I got. I like how she's just really
and
petty.
she's like, this is the soap.
She's just like really petty as well. Like, she has a genuine personality.
Yeah.
And she's not been moulded to be like the perfect stand-in or anything.
No, she isn't like a lot of main characters in these books where they're a blank template for you to fill in with yourself.
Yeah, or they start off really weak and then grow into themselves. She knows who she is from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, she's very like, yeah.
Where she's like, oh, straight up punch the bitch who stole my soap.
Yeah, and she does.
Fuck all consequences, like, really.
Yeah, and like, she has a little dalliance with a guy at the prison and they get caught. Not like...
No, they're making out.
They're kind of like a little bit compromising in how they're positioned, and she's just like, I don't care.
She's like, can you fuck off?
Yeah.
So
because I guess you don't exactly have anywhere for private moments in a prison.
Which is a lot of how the king's able to manipulate her, because she hasn't had any much time for tenderness ever. And as we alluded to at the start, a lot of the girls in the prison are abused. Oh
yeah, so she is regularly made to make decisions that she...
Based on survival,
if she wants soap, she'll
or
have
getting
to do
nice
this
things.
Or whatever, like,
yeah.
Manipulated,
Yeah.
The warden is gross.
Yeah. I'm glad what happens to him.
Yeah.
I really want the woman in charge of the trials to die. Hope she dies in the next book.
Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? I can't even remember her name. That's how much I despise her.
Yeah, I know. I was just totally like, oh, this bitch is talking again.
Oh, not her again.
So themes, we've sort of touched on. There's like, a lot of the themes are about classism and also like misogyny as well, because she's like, I've come from a place where women are openly treated like property and like something that can just be used however the guards wish because they're in a position of power.
Yeah.
But then I've come to this new place, in this new court, where people think it's okay that 9 girls are put in a trial where they die and then are bound to a king forever, and fays live a long time, so it is forever, and they can't marry, they cannot take a lover unless the king gives them permission.
Says,
And she's like, and I've just come to another world where that's okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if we mentioned this, but the trials are like a spectacle. So members of the public come and watch the first trial at least.
Which I like when she calls them out in it as well. Of like, you guys are sick, and everyone's like, oh, awkward.
Yeah,
we're being called out on our bullshit.
Yeah, so it's like it's an acceptable part of the culture. It's not just what happens in court. It's like everyone, like, people jeering for her to fall off something and die. Like, and
it's how all the queens have ever been chosen. So she's like, in this long, long history of this court, how many women is that?
Yeah, and why have none of the queens, like,
got rid of it?
Yeah.
Or...
But it's like, it seems to be linked to something mystical. So basically the winner who becomes a queen, like, talks to a sun mirror and then gets given powers or something, is my understanding. Yeah. We don't really get a lot on it, or maybe I just didn't take it in, but...
No, I think...
We'll find out in another book, I'm guessing.
I'm trying to think of the spoiler way. Yeah. I think the main character will return to the mirror.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can say that without spoilers. Any other
No, I don't think so.
Those are the kind of main ones. Like, it just had a bit of... Most of the time, it was like, cute fantasy writing, but it had undertones of, like, more serious themes and stuff.
Yeah, there was so much kind of discussion about abuse and stuff. Yeah. But packaged nicely. I don't know,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the author explores in further books in the series.
I saw on her Instagram the next one has one bed trope.
I did see that, yeah. Oh.
Oh no, I wonder who that will be.
Oh.
One of the quotes I wrote down, this is during the last trial, which I thought I just liked it. Pain is a language I know, a script I've written 1,000 times. That's when she's having her big, like, moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I like that. Gives me Throne of Glass vibes a little bit as well.
Fourth Wing vibes. Although this came out before.
A little bit. Fourth Wing was just playing a lot of fantasy tropes.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, from our very sophisticated list of topics, will you keep reading the series?
Yes, definitely.
100%.
And I think I'm going to try and not leave loads of time between it. When did you say last one comes out? November.
That's
Okay,
enough time
so
for
I've got
you.
time to read 2 in between that. Yeah, that's fine. It definitely caught my attention. I like where the author's going with it. I like what the author's doing. I like the writing. I will try other series by the author as well. Definitely. I think this was a really good pick for our first one.
Yeah.
It's a long book.
It was the longest of the books we had because we narrowed down our choices.
Yeah.
And it was the longest of the ones we picked. But I was like, if you look at, like, what it says, like, the tropes in it, it had also accidentally appeared on a rec list I had done around the time we were picking it, just, like, by coincidence. And I was like, I feel like that's a sign.
Yeah,
it has to be that
definitely.
one. And I'm really glad because it didn't feel as long as it is.
No, it didn't. Like, when I started it, I was like, for fuck's sake, I've left this so late.
Yeah.
And it's so huge, but
Also, I have been in a bit of a reading slump. And I was like, I'm never going to fucking finish this in time. And then I found it really easy to read. Which, considering I've been struggling to read, was nice.
I was like, I've left myself 4 days to read this. 2 of those days are a weekend when my kids are at home.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do this. But against all odds, I arrived today having read it. You did not expect that, did you?
No. Which is why I sent you a text last night, because what we were recording today was a bit up in the air, depending on what you finished.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey!
I'm just checking in. And then I don't take my phone to bed, so I was in bed finishing the book.
Because, our last batch record was not that long ago because we were playing catch up a bit because I'm having a holiday. Because that's the inconvenient bitch I am. So because when we had that last recording day, and I'm like, hey, you've only got this many days to read this and finish this other series. I'm not sure you're going to do it. And you're like, yeah, it's fine.
And I actually would have finished the other series if I hadn't been listening to Taylor Swift. So that gives you an idea of when we recorded this, because it was the weekend of Taylor Swift's album. So rather than doing my last 2 audiobooks, which would have been 4 hours of audio, I listened to Taylor Swift's album a few times. So
important.
I think I do not regret it.
I do not regret it.
I do not regret it at all.
No regrets.
Because otherwise, basically, it's The Wayward Children. We're going to do an in-depth episode on that. And I wouldn't have been able to be as in-depth as I'm hoping to be. So,
yeah, we want to do a proper deep dive into that one.
Yeah. But yeah, so this was our first Lazy Book Lovers buddy read.
Yeah.
It was a good choice.
Yeah.
I think it did well. It's on KU if you want to check it out.
I don't know if our other books are actually in the series.
No, didn't consider that.
Dun, dun, dun.
And if you would like to join us for our next one, our May-June book, we haven't picked it yet, but it'll be on our social media by the time this episode comes out. Please join us, it'll be great.
Hopefully it will be linked also in the description. by the time this one comes out also.
Yeah. And we would love to have you and to chat about it with you wherever is best for you. Storygraph Facebook group, which is Lazy Book Lovers Podcast, or our Discord. The link is in the bio.
Yeah.
So, yeah, please come join us.
Come chat to us. We promise to remember to talk about it this time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we're getting into the hang of it. It's just, you know.
Well, we've changed how we're going to do it because we're both procrastinators, and giving us 2 months to read a book means we won't read it until the end of the 2 months. So we've had a rethink about what it means for us as the originators of the read, the funny read. But you guys can read along at your own pace throughout those 2 months because you're not procrastinators.
The second one is on KU.
Yeah.
The third one isn't out yet. So the third one comes out in June and the fourth one in November.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's okay. Yeah. It's an ongoing series then. I was completely incorrect. It's because the author had a picture of them all physically, so I assumed they're all out.
Yeah, and because it said the last one's out in November, we were like, oh, the other 3 must be out.
But that does mean that they will all be coming to KU. So
nice.
I'll read the second one.
Oh, then you can space them out and tally spacing.
Yeah.
Yay!
Second one's 500 pages.
That's not too bad.
Oh, I was just looking at the tags on Amazon.
Right.
Okay, so the first
Okay.
book 1, Sword and Sorcery fantasy romance, as expected. Book 2,
Right.
historical erotica, erotic BDSM. I'm wondering if they've mis-tagged it.
Yeah. Or book 2's a lot spicier. I don't know. Oh, for people who...
Oh, it does. The reviews are still talking about smut. Okay, so it's
gonna get spicier.
Got a bit smutty.
Well, there is a little bit of spice, by the way, in book 1. But it's a lot more... It's all plot, some spice. For people who care about those things with that debate currently raging. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, we will speak to you next week.
Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.